In an interview with Jenny McCarthy, Sammy Hagar went further into his reasoning as to why he recruited Alice in Chains to tour with Van Halen in 1991. Quote, "When you're in Van Halen in the 90s when grunge came along, that was freaky, man. Because I'm looking at these guys and we're sort of the glam rock. We're all dressed up and dressing like girls and stuff. Motley Crue and Poison and these guys. But when grunge came and they were like down and dirty and funky, they made me nervous. I thought, these guys are going to disrespect us. Like, yeah, you're done, buddy." I was so insecure about it that I invited Alice in Chains with their first album when they had Man in the Box to open for Van Halen. They came out on the tour with us, and I've been dear friends with Jerry Cantrell since then. But that's how insecure I was. I said, let's get them on the show. That way their fans will know we're cool. It came out of fear a little bit. Not bad fear, but nervousness. They did really good, and business was good, and I made a friend out of it. Jerry comes to Cabo for my birthday bash every freaking year. End quote. On another occasion, Sammy Hagar once said the following to the Seattle Post as to his rationale for bringing Alice in Chains on tour with Van Halen. Quote, "I said, let's find a cool new band that needs exposure. I was watching MTV and saw Man in the Box's video. Layne Staley is one of the greatest new singers today." End quote. The following is from Sammy Hagar. Quote, "I loved that song, Man in the Box. I said, let's get these guys to open for us. I played the video for everybody to see what they look like. Look at these guys, they're cool. Everybody said, yeah. And that's how they came out." End quote. On June 17th, 1991, Van Halen released their 9th studio record for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Alice in Chains toured with Van Halen in support of that album. Although touring with Van Halen was a dream come true for the guys in Alice in Chains, the tour did not go smoothly. As a matter of fact, things were pretty rough. Jerry Cantrell even went as far as calling the opening show for Van Halen the worst gig of his life. Quote, "I remember showing up for the first gig and walking on the deck and getting ready to play the show. Eddie Van Halen was sitting there with his guitar on, running scales, and he's smiling. He came over and introduced himself. He was hanging right on the side of the stage in my little pit with my guitars and my guitar tech. Eddie's wife Valerie was with him. Wolfie was newly born and in her arms. So that's how the tour started for me, like, whoa, okay, I'm standing here and Eddie Van Halen is smiling and playing guitar and meeting me, and I'm going to go on stage in about 5 minutes. I go on to play and he stayed there and watched me. I think it was the worst gig in my life, at least in my mind, because I was so nervous that the dude was sitting there watching me. Finally, he went back to his dressing room to get ready for his show, and I think I started to relax a little bit more. We stayed with Van Halen for a couple of legs of the tour and made really good friends with Eddie. There were a lot of late night hangs, a lot of pool halls and bars. We'd always end up in each other's rooms with a couple of guitars. When he came to town, he'd give me a call and vice versa. We also became friends with Sammy. He and I have been buds for a long time. In our band, Van Halen was always well loved and embedded in our psyches. And of course, as a guitar player, Eddie is the top of the mountain in terms of uniqueness and a commitment to excellence. There was nobody like him, and there never will be. That's just the way it's supposed to be. Now, that tour was really impactful from a career standpoint and also just an achievement level of like, wow, okay, I guess we can play with these guys.